During World War II, the United States built Oak Ridge, Tennessee, a city so secret it didn't appear on any map. Tens of thousands lived and worked there, unaware they were helping create the world's first atomic bomb. Families moved in secrecy, mail was censored, and even casual conversations were monitored. At Oak Ridge, massive factories enriched uranium, with workers operating machinery without knowing its true purpose. This hidden city was a vital part of the Manhattan Project, a race to build a weapon that could end the war. The people of Oak Ridge were unknowing participants in a scientific and industrial effort that would soon change history. The Manhattan Project began not with generals but with scientists. In 1938, physicists discovered nuclear fission, realizing it could unleash unprecedented destructive power. Fearing Nazi Germany might build an atomic bomb, scientists Leo Szilard and Eugene Wigner urged Albert Einstein to warn President Roosevelt. Einstein's 1939 letter explained the bomb's potential and urged the U.S. to secure uranium and support research. Roosevelt responded cautiously, forming a small committee and providing modest funding. For 2 years, progress was slow, until the war's urgency and British reports confirmed the bomb's feasibility. The quiet warning in Einstein's letter soon ignited a massive top-secret effort, the Manhattan Project. Science had sounded the alarm. Now, the race was on. Building the bomb required assembling the world's top scientific minds. General Leslie Groves, a master organizer, chose J. Robert Oppenheimer to lead the project's central laboratory. Oppenheimer's brilliance and ability to unite diverse experts made him the ideal leader. Scientists from across the globe, many refugees from fascism, joined, driven by the fear of a Nazi bomb. Nobel laureates like Enrico Fermi and Ernest Lawrence, theorists like Hans Bethe and Richard Feynman, and countless engineers formed a dream team. The collaboration between military discipline and academic creativity was unprecedented, often tense but highly productive. United by urgency, they left their old lives behind to work in secrecy. The stage was set for a scientific effort unlike any before. Entire towns like Los Alamos, New Mexico sprang up almost overnight, built from the ground up to house thousands of Manhattan Project workers and their families. These secret cities were carved out of remote landscapes, chosen for their isolation and security. Construction crews worked around the clock, transforming barren mesas and forests into bustling communities complete with homes, schools, and stores. For many, it was their first time living in such a mysterious, purpose-built place, where every detail was designed to keep secrets safe. Residents lived behind barbed wire fences, watched by armed guards, and known to the outside world only by a post office box number. Entry and exit were tightly controlled, and the very existence of these towns was a closely guarded secret. Friends and relatives back home had no idea where their loved ones had gone or what they were doing. Yet, within the fences, life carried on. Children played in dusty streets, attended makeshift schools, and families gathered for community dances and movie nights. Neighbors formed close bonds, sharing meals and stories, trying to create a sense of normalcy amid the extraordinary. But always there was an undercurrent of secrecy and tension, as everyone knew they were part of something monumental and dangerous. Every letter sent or received was opened and censored, with sensitive information blacked out. Phone calls were monitored by switchboard operators trained to listen for any slip of the tongue. Even the birth certificates of children born in these towns listed only a mysterious P.O. box, erasing any trace of their true birthplace. Scientists and workers spoke in code, using phrases like the gadget for the atomic bomb and tubaloi for plutonium. They never discussed their work outside the lab, not even with their closest friends or family members. The need for secrecy was drilled into everyone, from the top physicists to the janitors. This enforced isolation fostered a unique environment of intense collaboration and focus. Scientists, engineers, and support staff worked side by side, united by a single secret goal. The pressure was immense, but so was the sense of mission. Anxiety and paranoia were constant companions. Rumors swirled, and everyone was aware that a single mistake could have dire consequences. Yet there was also a powerful sense of shared purpose, a belief that their sacrifices might help end the war. The secret cities became crucibles of innovation, where brilliant minds forged new ideas and lifelong friendships under extraordinary circumstances. The challenges they faced pushed them to their limits but also inspired breakthroughs that would change the world. Life in these hidden communities was a unique chapter in American history, a blend of ordinary routines and extraordinary secrecy, where the fate of the world was quietly being shaped behind closed doors. The Manhattan Project's core challenge was turning nuclear theory into a working bomb. Scientists pursued two paths, enriching uranium at Oak Ridge and creating plutonium at Hanford. The uranium bomb used a simple gun-type design, firing one piece into another to trigger a chain reaction. Plutonium, however, required a radical implosion design, using explosives to compress a plutonium core and unleash its energy. Achieving perfect implosion demanded new technologies, explosive lenses, precise detonators, and split-second timing. The complexity was staggering, with no guarantee of success. The device built for the first test was called the Gadget. Every breakthrough brought them closer to unlocking the atom's destructive power. The world was about to change forever. By July 1945, after years of relentless research and secretive work, the implosion device was finally ready for its ultimate test. The chosen location was a remote stretch of desert in New Mexico, codenamed Trinity. Here, the fate of the Manhattan Project, and perhaps the world, would be decided in a single, blinding instant. Scientists and soldiers gathered in the pre-dawn darkness, their nerves stretched taut as storms rolled across the desert sky. The threat of lightning and rain loomed, threatening to delay the test and heightening the tension. Every minute felt like an eternity as they waited for the weather to clear, knowing that history itself was hanging in the balance. At dawn on July 16, 1945, the device, nicknamed the Gadget, was hoisted atop a steel tower, standing silent and ominous against the breaking light. The final checks were made, and the countdown began, echoing through the control bunkers and across the desert floor. Suddenly the desert was split by a blinding flash, brighter than the sun itself. A wave of searing heat washed over the land, followed by a thunderous roar that echoed for miles. The force of the explosion was far greater than anyone had truly imagined, leaving those who witnessed it awestruck and shaken. A towering mushroom cloud rose swiftly into the sky, marking the birth of a new era. The steel tower that had supported the Gadget was instantly vaporized, leaving only a scorched crater in its place. The sheer scale of destruction was both terrifying and mesmerizing. As the dust settled, scientists and military officials realized the test had succeeded beyond their expectations. The bomb worked, and with it, humanity had crossed a threshold into the nuclear age. Some celebrated, while others stood in silent contemplation, aware of the profound consequences. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the scientific director, later reflected on the moment with a heavy heart, quoting the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The words captured the awe and dread that filled the desert air. The secret was out. News of the successful test would soon spread, and the world would learn that the most powerful weapon ever created was now a reality. The balance of power had shifted forever. The path from Trinity led directly to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, setting the stage for events that would change the course of history and redefine the meaning of war and peace for generations to come. With the successful test of the atomic bomb, President Harry Truman was confronted with one of the most consequential decisions in human history. As the Pacific War dragged on, the United States and its allies faced the grim prospect of a full-scale invasion of Japan, a campaign that promised to be long, bloody, and devastating for both sides. Military planners estimated that an invasion could cost hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of lives. The atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable power, offered a swift, if terrible, alternative to end the war. The decision weighed heavily on Truman and his advisors, who debated the moral and strategic implications of unleashing such destruction. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber Enola Gay took off from Tinian Island carrying the uranium bomb nicknamed Little Boy. At 8:15 a.m., the bomb was dropped over Hiroshima. In a blinding flash, the city was reduced to rubble and tens of thousands of people perished instantly. Yet, despite the overwhelming destruction, Japan did not immediately surrender. 3 days later, on August 9th, a second bomb, this time a plutonium device called Fat Man, was dropped on the city of Nagasaki. The devastation was immense, with thousands more lives lost in an instant, and the city left in ruins. The shock of the atomic bombings, combined with the Soviet Union's sudden entry into the war against Japan, left the Japanese leadership with no choice. The nation was reeling from destruction and facing the prospect of further annihilation. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito addressed his people in a historic radio broadcast, announcing Japan's unconditional surrender. For the first time, the Japanese public heard their emperor's voice, marking the end of a brutal conflict. Across the world, celebrations erupted as World War II finally came to a close. Yet, beneath the joy, there was a sense that the world had been irrevocably changed by the dawn of the atomic age. The atomic bomb had ended one of history's deadliest wars, but it also ushered in a new era, one defined by nuclear fear, arms races, and the haunting possibility of global annihilation. Humanity had crossed a threshold from which there was no return, forever changed by the power it had unleashed. The atomic bomb didn't just end World War II, it transformed warfare itself. Suddenly a single bomb could destroy a city, making traditional military power obsolete. The US and Soviet Union entered a nuclear arms race, each amassing thousands of ever deadlier weapons. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD, meant that any major war risked ending civilization. The threat of nuclear annihilation shaped global politics, fueled the Cold War, and haunted generations. Large-scale wars between superpowers became unthinkable, replaced by proxy conflicts and constant tension. The Manhattan Project's legacy was a paradox. It ended one war, but made future wars potentially apocalyptic. The world now lived under the shadow of the mushroom cloud. The nature of conflict and fear was changed forever. The Manhattan Project marked a turning point in history, science's triumph and its warning. Nuclear fission brought both destruction and hope bombs that leveled cities, but also power plants and medical advances. Today, nuclear weapons remain, and the risk of their use, by nations or terrorists, has not vanished. The knowledge cannot be unlearned, the shadow of the mushroom cloud still lingers. The story of the Manhattan Project is a lesson in the double-edged power of technology. It challenges us to use our knowledge wisely, and to confront the moral questions it raises. The journey from Einstein's letter to the nuclear age is a story we all share. Understanding it is essential, for our past, our present, and our future.